What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you guys back on the channel. On today's episode, we'll be looking at the top 3 reasons why you should not even consider communicating with, interacting with, or even approaching a manufacturer or an apparel supplier, and what's the top 3 things that you need to do today to actually get yourself in the best possible position to be able to engage a supplier the right way, to get accurate pricing, to have a good understanding of the time frame that you need for your project, and ultimately to make sure that your first production project is done the right way. So if you want the too long didn't read, what are these top 3 things? Well, number 1, you need to have a finalized design collection. 2, make sure you have technical documentation, technical specifications on hand, aka tech packs, ready to go. And number 3, make sure you have the cash on hand and you're ready to actually engage with a supplier properly and strategically. If you want to learn more about each of these 3 points and you want to elaborate a little bit more, well, tune into this episode. You guys are in for a good one. What's up, design family, and welcome to Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you here. On this channel, we discuss all things sports fashion, graphic design, manufacturing, and technology. We'll discuss key topics, answer pressing questions, and provide actionable steps on starting your own product line. If you're interested in any of the above topics, stick around. You're in for a good one. So you're looking to approach an apparel manufacturer. Whether you're looking to manufacture overseas or you're looking for local production, how do you engage a supplier the right way? Well, a lot of people get far too excited with this step. Yes, I get it. It's a step closer to finally seeing this vision that's in your head realized and put out into the world. But before you do this, you need to understand that there are certain things you have to have on hand and ready to go. And the first thing that we mentioned was you actually have to finalize your designs. So many designers have these lofty ideas of collections that they want to create. They have these beautiful themes, they have these color palettes in mind, all these details. And when it comes to communicating this to their manufacturers, number 1, they might not even have a full understanding of what the core collection looks like. They have a mood board or they just have images and they're sending those over as reference points. If you're expecting your manufacturer to actually go ahead and create products based off images that you're sending them, well, number 1, no manufacturer that's worth a cent is going to take you seriously. They're not going to want to work with you if you actually don't even have those details ready to go. And 2, those that actually do consider engaging with you are not going to give you what you want. Relying on a manufacturer whose core ability is to actually create and produce product, to design, to come up with concepts, well, that's like asking a chef to change a tire. They might be able to do it, but they will do it very slowly and they may not even do it correctly at all. So make sure that you have your designs done. If you're not a designer, consider hiring a professional to take care of that. Consider partnering up with someone who has the necessary skill sets. Understand what you want to make. Have clarity over who your target customer is. Have clarity over when you want to launch, what types of products you want to have in your launch. A great resource for this is going to be Pinterest. Go and create a mood board. Narrow down your collection. Be specific about the items you want to make. Be specific about the colors, your branding style. All of these things should be completely identified and put down on paper before you even consider approaching a manufacturer. It's very important that you get off on the right foot, that you have all the necessary details to actually engage in the right communication and the right conversation with a supplier. Number 2, once you have your designs done, you need to have these designs translated into factory-ready tech packs. What is the difference between a schematic design and a factory-ready tech pack? Consider a building. You might have the sketch of the building. You might have the design elements of the building. You might have the flow of the building. You might have all these lofty ideas towards what the building should look like, what the materials or the aesthetic should be. But when it comes down to actually creating and producing and manufacturing and actually constructing the building, if you don't have the proper framework, if you don't have the proper plans, if you don't have an engineer on hand, if you don't have the necessary documentation to actually make it happen, what is the sizing? What are the layouts? What are the foundational elements? What are the materials used? Well, there's no contractor that's going to be able to make it for you. Consider the same in the fashion industry. You need to have a tech pack. You need to have some way to communicate core essential elements to your manufacturer. Again, this goes back to step 1. expecting a manufacturer to figure out what fabric to use for you, or what seam types to use, or what branding elements to place, or what XYZ needs to be. Yes, they may be able to do it to some extent, but they're not going to do it correctly because that's not their thing. Their thing is to execute. Also, consider the caliber of company that you are. If you can't even make a tech pack, how can you source good quality and reliable suppliers and manufacturers to work with you? At the end of the day, there has to be an element of professionalism in everything you do. And in the fashion industry, it is a minimum that you create some form of tech pack. Either you can research how to do it yourself, you can use a pre-made template, or you can consider working with designers that is what they do, that is their thing. On a side note, that is definitely something that we can help you with at Fittdesign. So if you're interested in creating quality tech packs, communicating your vision, your ideas in the best possible way to minimize any issues with your sampling, to minimize any delay time, to basically give you the best possible shot at standing out from the crowd and creating quality products, well, check the link in the description and we can definitely help you out with that. But on a side note, making sure you have tech packs is going to be essential. Don't rely on your manufacturers to figure out those details for you. As a rule of thumb, what does your actual tech pack need to include? Well, it should include some form of visualization of what your product is. We call these in the industry as mock-ups. Your mock-ups can either be 3D or they can be colored flats. These mock-ups should include the colors of the stitching. They should include the shape of the garment. They should include the core essential aesthetic details. They should include the branding, the locations, the colorways. They should also include some form of sizing guide information. How are you grading between small to medium, medium to large? They should include some form of fittings. If you want to have a proper fit and you want to customize and tailor your fit, having a clear representation of the fit, of the chest half width, of the waist half width, of the collar half width, of the shoulder drop, of the shoulder opening is going to be essential towards getting you to where you want to go. You can't have these wild ideas on creating the optimal brand, but when it comes down to your communication, you're leaving things up in the air. Communicate what you want effectively in order to execute and deliver the product you want exactly as you envision it. You also need to figure out your fabrics. You don't have to have all the information in the world on fabrics, but you need to have an idea of what you want. Creating a legging out of 100% cotton material just doesn't make sense. At the same time, creating a very casual shirt out of a 100% polyester blend doesn't make sense. But if you leave this up to manufacturers, they may not have the information necessary to actually make those decisions for you. So they might just end up going with what they have on hand. Make sure you're leaving as few things as possible up to chance. Take the horse by the reins and actually go ahead and specify everything. Create a tech pack, and I promise you, you'll alleviate yourself with a lot of headache and you'll actually have the result you want. Last but not least, when you go ahead and approach a supplier, make sure that you have the funds on hand that are necessary to actually engage in the project. This is a little bit confusing to me because it goes without saying, in order to actually go ahead and create any project, you need to have the financial resources necessary to engage in the project. It's no use at all, and I understand the thinking of wanting to approach a supplier to try to get information, to understand your costs. But understand that in this world, and as we've seen in the last 2 years, inflation is crazy and exists. At the same time, costs are ever changing. The global supply chain is always changing. Gas prices are going up. Fabrics are not being made in the quantities that they used to be made, so you might not have availability to the fabrics that you want when you want them. All of these things actually play into the cost that you're going to get from the supplier. So going ahead and basing your budget off of prices that you're receiving 6 months prior might not actually be the right decision. 6 months down the line, number one, those fabrics might not even be available. Two, that supplier may not be able to actually take on your order. They may be backlogged, they may be out of business, they may be in a completely different domain. Three, the costs that they provided to you might have been based on gas prices from 6 months ago, a year ago. So you might end up having a 25% increase or a 20% increase or a 15% increase. And if you've just budgeted for that specific cost that you received 6 months ago, well, you're not going to be in a good position to actually go ahead and pull the trigger. So make sure that you are lessening that time frame between when you're ready to go ahead and excel and execute a project to when or from when you're actually asking a supplier for information and you're trying to understand the costs associated and the timeframes necessary. So make sure you're ready, make sure that you have everything that you need on hand, that tech pack, finalize your designs and cash on hand in order to approach your supplier with the best possible chance to have a successful project with as few hiccups and as few unknowns as possible. Guys, it goes without saying that in order to approach any manufacturing project successfully, and before you even consider doing so, you need to have your designs done and dusted. That's going to give you immense clarity and vision over how to engage with your supplier, over what types of fabrics to ask for, and how to take core decisions. You also have to have your factory ready tech packs ready to go so that all technical documentation and detailing is extremely clear. And lastly, have the cash on hand so that when you receive your prices, you can shorten or minimize the amount of time between when you receive prices and when you're ready to pull the trigger. Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider smashing a massive thumbs up. It lets us know that you enjoy this type of content and you want to see other episodes like this. Let us know what subject specifically you're interested in, and we'll definitely make sure to take that into account to create those episodes for you. Also, if you're interested in scheduling a one-on-one consultation call with me, I offer limited slots every single week. So what can I help you with? Well, a ton of different things. If you're a brand looking to grow to the next level, you're looking to scale, you're looking to introduce new designs into your collection, or to streamline your logistics, well, that's something I can help you with. Or even if you're a newbie brand, you're unsure of how to get started, you're unsure of what your initial collection should look like. Again, this is definitely something I can assist you with. So check the link in the description. There are limited slots and I'd love to hop on a one-on-one call with you. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.